Welcome to Desert Wanderers, produced by Salt and Light Radio. If you're new here, we bridge the gap between you and the person in the pew next to you. I will be interviewing priests, religious, and laity in our local Boise diocese, asking questions that'll help you navigate your vocation and help build community wherever you are with whatever resources you may have. Let's build the city of God together. I guess we'll start. Here we are. So welcome. This is the Firepit crew. I'm so excited to have you guys on today. And we'll just start with doing brief introductions. So we'll start over with Rachel, and then you can just give us your name and kind of a little bit about you, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. I'm Rachel. I'm from Colorado originally. I moved to Boise 3 years ago this August, and I'm a teacher. I work at St. Ignatius.
I'm Nancy. I basically grew up in Idaho, Canyon County area. I work for St. Alphonsus, the hospital, and I work with our system, so I train people on how to use the software.
I'm Jack. I also moved to Boise about 3 years ago from Chicago. I'm an electrical engineer for work, and pretty recent convert to Catholicism as well back in 2023. So.
Wow. So you're 2023. That's really fresh. You're 2 years in. How did you, we'll just start right here. So can someone give us an overview of Firepit? And then also I'll just ask you how you got involved. So maybe Jack should take the Firepit question since he's going to have the follow-up one as well.
Sure. So overall, Firepit is a 20s to 30s social organization that's held through the diocese. So we aren't just associated with one parish in particular. We have about 6 parishes that support us, and we kind of stand in as their like 20s and 30s young adult oriented ministry, so that we can get something across the whole Ada County instead of just having each church kind of split off on its own. I hope that explains.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then how did you come to Catholicism?
Oh, man. So I was originally baptized Catholic. I think at some point when I was in like first grade, my dad got into an argument with a priest. After that, we decided, I guess, as a family that we were going to be Protestant for a while. But I always had this sort of sense that I wanted to come back to Catholicism. Once I got to college, I actually had the opportunity where a bunch of the members of my fraternity were Catholic. And, they were kind enough to extend an invitation with me to go to Mass every weekend. So I ended up going to Mass for about 5 years before actually going through OCIA. Because I grew up in a pretty heavy Italian-American community. And so watching like everyone be Catholic and then seeing them all go to Sunday school and then you don't go through that, I was like, I got to do my time. I don't know if I would recommend that to other people, but I guess at the time that felt right for me. But I was able to go through confirmation at the cathedral a few years ago, and it's been wonderful being a part of this ever since.
That's amazing. So it's really cool that you said you originally came from Chicago?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. So you came to Boise, and then did you just join Firepit recently, or how has your involvement come into Firepit?
Oh, man. So I joined Firepit because, when you move to a new city, there's all sorts of people that you want to meet. And as a more recent convert, I felt like I didn't really grow up with the sort of cultural aspects of Catholicism. So when I found out, actually in my OCIA class from one of the former presidents of Firepit, that Firepit was a thing, I was like, all right, this would be a great opportunity to actually meet people in the community who are about my same age and who want to be involved and be around other people. And so I felt like that's really supported me in that sense. And I've learned so much about the faith through my experience. I was in Firepit for about 3 months, I think, before Rachel sort of kept prodding me. She's like, you should join the board. And I was like...
I wasn't even on the board yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, you should be on the board.
Yeah. And I was like, all right. I had a lot of experience running organizations in college and doing these sorts of things. So I thought that I could kind of join the board. The first board meeting I went to, the president, who had been in charge for about 3 or 4 years, I think at that point, Ada was running it, was like, hey, just got married. I want to step down. I'm going to take some time for my family. And everybody was like, super reasonable. And then I'm like, well, I just joined the board. This is a fun way to run the first meeting. But since then, we've also grown the board since then and had a bunch more folks like Nancy and Rachel step in. And so we've all just been trying to run it since and to try to grow the Catholic community here for young adults in Idaho.
So when doing this, setting this interview up, I actually spoke with Nancy the most. So Nancy, let's go ahead and talk about your involvement in Firepit.
Yes. So I'm a cradle Catholic. I would say I rediscovered my faith recently. So I just came back to the church about, I think, a year and a half ago. I was a member of Firepit, I think, since it started. I think it was about 10 years ago. I started pretty slowly. I would say I kind of just stalked the ministry online. I never really showed up to events. I just watched them because I used to go live on Instagram and Facebook, and I used to watch the talks that way and just keep in touch with like what's going on until I finally got the courage a few years in to start attending. And so even when I think I was away from the church, I was still randomly showing up to Firepit events. I feel like Firepit was really like the anchor and pulling me back. I joined the board like a month or two after Jack. And so then my first meeting was Eva, who I think was on the board for about 10 years. I remember her being there since the beginning. She was on her last meeting. So she kind of just handed over the keys, gave us all the information, and then stepped down.
Well, okay. So, and Rachel, you've been in Firepit for how long now?
About 3 years. I joined when I moved here in August of 2022.
2022. Yeah. Okay. And did you join before or after Jack?
After. Yeah, I was in grad school. I would have joined earlier, but I was in grad school, so I was like, I'm not going to join until I'm done with grad school. So once I graduated grad school, I told my friend Jess, who was on the board at the time, I was like, okay, I'm ready now. I can help. Like, I don't know what you guys need, but I can help with things. So, yeah.
And so tell me this. So each of you, there's how many other Firepit members on the board?
There's 2 more.
2 more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's go through just your faith history and then go into how you kind of got to the point where you were ready to volunteer your time with Firepit.
Yeah, so I am a cradle Catholic. I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school my whole life until college. And then I think that I was just like a very lukewarm Catholic my whole life. Like, I think my parents, like, they still took us to Mass every Sunday and stuff, and we went to Catholic school, but I think that was like it, like Catholic school and Mass on Sundays, and that was it. We didn't really talk about faith or anything like that. I didn't go to any of like the church youth groups that people go to growing up because I was like, well, I already go to Catholic school. Like, I have all these friends. So when I went to college, like latter half of high school, I kind of was like, I don't want to go to Mass. Like, I was a teenager and like fighting it a little bit. And so then in college, like, I had never been to Mass by myself ever before. So in college, I kind of saw it as like freedom. Like, I don't have to go to Mass anymore. Like, my parents aren't telling me to. So freshman year of college, I kind of stopped going to Mass. Also because I was like too nervous to go by myself and like take the bus over and travel and go over there and go to Mass. So I kind of stopped. But my cousin, Matt, he was also a freshman at the same time as me in college. So he invited me to go to Mass with him. And so I went with him one weekend, and that was fun. And then all of the people there were like really nice, and they were all friends and all knew each other. And I was like, how do all these people know each other? Like,
were they all young? Like, were you going to a student Mass?
Mm-hmm. So it was like a Newman Center. So they had Focus there and all of this stuff. But I was like, wow, everyone's really nice. I want to be friends with them. And I was like, how do I become friends with these people? So then they had a retreat, and I went on that retreat. And I went to confession probably for the first time in years. Like, I pretty much went to like my first confession, and then whenever we had to go to confession at school. And other than that, that was it. So I definitely hadn't been in years. And I was just like, broke down, like crying, and like in the best way. And the priest was just like, yeah, welcome home. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what? So then that was like my reversion, the start of it. It was on that retreat. And I actually didn't even go on that retreat till I was a sophomore, second semester, sophomore year. So I was already like halfway through college, and then I started going back to Mass and got really involved with the Catholic community in college. And then I served on like the student leadership board there. So I was the social chair at the student leadership board. It was called CORE. So I worked like with the focus missionaries and with the priests and the campus ministers and everyone. And I put on huge like social events for like our Newman Center, which was awesome because we had a very thriving parish and we had a big budget also. So I was like, what? They're giving me all this money to throw these big parties. So we did like Advent balls, we did Valentine's Day parties, we did Christmas parties, we did all sorts of things like for every holiday and things like that. So it was fun. So I did that and I really liked it. So that's kind of like my first like role in ministry. But when I first started going to mass, like I felt like I didn't know anyone and I wanted to know people, but I was too shy to go up to people. So from then on, I became the person where like I want to go up to people and involve them because living your faith is so much easier like with a community. So then it made my mission to be like a leader in the community, but also like bring people in. So then after college, when I moved to Northern Colorado, there wasn't a young adult group, so we started one. And it's really big now, but we started the first like young adult group up there. And then when I moved here, I was like, oh, I could be on the board. Like I've done these kinds of things before. So yeah.
You said you were finishing up your master's. So did you go to BSU then to finish up your master's?
No, actually, I was in a program called PACE. It's called the Pacific Alliance for Catholic Education. And you get your master's for free. They pay for your master's and they place you in a Catholic school somewhere to teach. And you don't get paid though. You get a grad school stipend. That's part of why your master's is free. So I was placed at St. Ignatius and this was my placement. So then you live with other teachers who are also placed here in a house that your grad school pays for also. So yeah, this was my placement, but I spent the last 3 summers in Portland, Oregon doing in-person classes and then during the school year doing classes online. So I graduated last August, so like a year ago.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and then can you guys all tell me what is your what is your role in Firepit?
Yeah, I'm the social director.
I'm the communications director.
And I'm the programming director.
And what do each of you guys do?
So I organize different kinds of socials for people to be just natural and building community. Because at like Tap Into Theology, we are mostly listening to a talk and there's time to talk afterwards, but it's built to have a space where we just get to know each other. So we do like hangouts at breweries or pickleball. We did a pickleball day. We have a Firepit Floats the River day coming up. Just any kind of social activities that bring people together.
For communications, I handle the social media, our website, and then just making sure people know what events are going on for Firepit and also with the parishes. So texts, newsletters. We have a group me chat where I post just things that I think are interesting in the parish, plus whatever the other board members are hosting or facilitating, things like that.
For programming, I try to plan our what I would say our flagship event is every month, which is our Tap Into Theology event. We'll normally have a speaker come in, do an hour talk on whatever. We have pizza and drinks for everybody, and then people get to hang out afterwards, discuss what the speaker went into, and all sorts of things like that. And I would also say just do general logistics and try to make things run.
Okay, so then let's go into that. So one of the main events that Firepit puts on that I know of is the Tap Into Theology, right? So when you guys are planning those things, what is your goal to help our community, help the young adult community get out of those events?
Yeah, so one thing that we want to do is everybody goes to Mass on Sunday and gets to hear a priest talk about some sort of reflection from either from the liturgy or just whatever they might feel like talking about. But what we're trying to do with our Tap Into Theology series is to create a space where anybody can come in and give a talk. But usually we'll try to keep it to some people who have a little bit more credentials. And so you get a really wide kind of breadth of topics that we get to cover in that series. Very recently, we've had Deacon Mark do a talk on a spiritual inventory of the gifts that we all receive. We've also had Father Johannes give a nice talk about St. Teresa of Lisieux. And just this upcoming month, not this upcoming month, but right now, in about 2 weeks, we'll have another one of the board members, David, who is a member of Catholic Charities Vito, giving a speech on
Virtue? Isn't it
Yeah.
virtues?
Temperance and Growing in Virtue, I believe, is the title that he's going. So we were able to get a really wide breadth of topics, right? And so we get to try to go in depth on one of those topics for an hour, but we also have people staying afterwards for like sometimes up to 3 hours. Normally we tell people to show up at 6:30. The event starts at 7. Speaker might go till 8, but we've had people staying after, just building fellowship, communicating, and talking and hanging out with each other up until like 10 or 11 those nights. Nobody has to stay that long, but it is really fun to get to see everybody have such a great time that they want to stay after the talk.
Okay, so this kind of leads into a good question that I've had on my mind. When I was here in Boise, there was a young adults community. It was very close-knit, but it was also, I guess, the age before I found my spouse. I was in the community, and I was basically only going to the events that the brothers put on, right? Because there was kind of this COVID thing that was going on, and so people weren't really, like, there was just a lot of weird stuff going on. So I guess nowadays, what do you guys think is, like, the main, what is a pain point that young adults are facing today, and how do you think Firepit addresses that?
People are lonely. I think that a lot of people live on their phones and they seek community through like your phones, which in certain aspects are great. Like if you can FaceTime or talk to friends or family that aren't in the state, like that's fantastic. But I think they turn to their phones for like community, and it's not as fulfilling as actually like being with people in real life and getting to talk to people. So I think that people struggle to make friends and struggle because they're lonely, because I feel like the internet kind of makes people a little more antisocial in person. So everyone wants that community of people where they can go and hang out with people. So one of our biggest things is to build that community, and it should be an easy way. Like if you come to a Firepit event, it should not be hard to make a friend, because everyone's super open to talking to each other. So I think honestly, and maybe you said this too, Jack, but when I first joined, that's why I started joining. Like I was already pretty solid in my faith, so it wasn't necessarily for the full like faith aspect, but it was so that I could have friends who share the same faith and values as me when I moved here. Because I was like, okay, well, where, as a young adult, like where do you go to make friends? Like you can join a pickleball league, or you can, play sports or meet people at, I don't know, where they go to meet friends, like bars. Like I don't want to make friends at bars. So I was like, church, like I don't know where else you want to go to make friends. So, and we're not meant to walk in our faith alone. Like we're supposed to have community. Like we're supposed to know the people in our parishes. We're supposed to like lean on each other in a certain way, because we're all on the same walk towards heaven. So I think for young adults especially, like they're getting into their professional lives, so they're transitioning into new jobs a lot of the times. We get a lot of people who just moved here. They don't know anyone. This is the first thing they've come to. So making a lot of connections and lots of community building is super important.
Do you feel like people have been starting to look for groups like Firepit who are trying to be like, I don't like to be on my phone. I noticed that there's a lack here. Like, I really want to meet people in person. Do you guys see like an uptick in that?
I would say actually very recently. I feel like I've seen this more in the last 3 months than ever before. But just the amount of people who just hit up our email saying, hey, I'm new to the area. I want to meet people. How can I do it? What are you guys about? And we try to respond as fast as we can with what we have going on and all of the opportunities that we think that they can go to in order to get their needs filled.
Yeah, especially this summer, we've gotten a lot of emails like that. Like, hey, I moved here a week ago. Like, when's the next event? So they're looking for it for sure.
I have to say, I feel like that is probably a testament to Nancy, because if your website's working right and your SEO is on, then they can find you. Because honestly,
it's true.
If you are new, right, how are you going to find it if your website's not very good? So Nancy, bravo to you.
You're very important, Nancy.
So thank you. I take it very seriously. But yeah, I think what you said with like the social media thing, I think that's why we have so many different ways to connect with us, because some people aren't on social media. But even Facebook, we're not very active there anymore, but we still keep it up and have our links, because that is the first search result that comes up when you Google Idaho Catholic young adults. And so that's why we have the newsletter, the website, we have the chat, we have the text. Some people don't want to be in the chat. They just want a text reminder. Oh, there's an event today. That's all I need.
Yeah. Let's go into some of the events that you have going into like the end of summer and then also going into like the fall.
So we have consistent events. First Friday formation is at the monastery of Verbum Spei with the brothers. Father Johannes leads a talk. So that's pretty consistent. First Friday. This month it was the second Friday because of 4th of July.
Of the month,
yeah. So First Friday formation, and then Tap Into Theology is always the third Monday of the month. And then we did have Eucharistic adoration on Thursdays. That's shifting a little bit now because the person who ran it moved. So we're working with the cathedral. There's been a couple of people taking interest in picking that back up. So like a consistent young adult holy hour every week. And then for women, we have Mondays with Mary. Every Monday we meet to pray the rosary at 6:30. We start praying at 6:30. And that's been pretty good. That group's grown a bunch over the last 2 years. And then we also have men's groups that meet consistently. There's a Monday group and a Tuesday group. So those are kind of events that are consistent and always happen. Did I miss any of the consistency? Oh, yes. Nancy has a great Bible study. So you finished one session already. It was on Sundays, and now you just started a new one, right? Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, so we started doing one on the mysteries of the Rosary because I realized through Mondays with Mary that I didn't really know too much about what I was supposed to be meditating on for the mysteries, and I found that other people didn't know either. I feel like we know the story, but like I don't really think I was entering into the mystery when praying the Rosary. So I found a study. It was 6 months, every single Sunday. I opened it up, I think, to anyone. It was co-ed. And we had 25 people come. We had anywhere from like 6 to 12 usually, but it was 25 people total. And it was just come whenever you can and no homework. Just read the scripture with us. We prayed a scriptural rosary or a scriptural decade with the mystery. And it was great. I think people loved it. And once we were finished, they're like, okay, when's the next one? So, yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because how many times do we go through our faith and it's just like, oh, I need to do this. Like, I just need to pray the rosary, so I'm going to start praying the rosary. But yeah, to get into that contemplation, especially if you guys are talking with like Brother Johannes or Father Dom, like there's really this deeper level to our faith that we can dive into because of the contemplation. And I think going back to the social media thing, I feel like it's harder for me to dive into contemplation because I'm so used to like having something entertain me. Like it's so hard to actually like focus on something for long periods of time because I'm so used to, oh, what's that question? I'm just going to Google it. Like, you know, what's that, you know, or whatever. Or I have 10 minutes to myself. What am I going to do with it? I mean, one year I gave up social media. Well, I have done it ever since, but I gave up social media to meet friends. And I was like, I'm just going to meet so many people standing in line. But guess what everyone's doing in line? They're on their phone. So it's like all of that time, like it's so hard to dive into our faith when we're almost trained from being so young and just like almost susceptible to everything being so easy and fast to really sit and dive in and actually contemplate what our faith means. And maybe that's the rosary, maybe that's just history. Like there's so much to our faith in so many aspects. I mean, adoration's another one, right? It's hard to sit there unless you train yourself. I remember that was something I had to do was go in for 2 minutes, go in for 5 minutes, go in and build the time up till I get to the point where I could actually sit in adoration.
Yeah. Spiritual stamina is something that I like to call that. And I think there is 100% something to that where especially Father Johannes is incredible. He's the spiritual director of Firepit, and he runs our First Friday formation events. And I feel like, you know, a lot of the times online, if you're looking at stuff about Catholicism, you can get really deep into the sort of theological things or the historical side. And I felt like through my own faith formation, that's what originally attracted me and sort of brought me in. But the brothers are really incredible, and they have such this strong spiritual sense where, like, they're so contemplative, and they've just built up that spiritual stamina through just constant meditation as well as silence, and just focusing on building that really, really inner relationship with Christ. And I think it's incredible. And so, like, personally, I really enjoy the first Friday formation events because Father Johannes, if you just let him talk for like an hour and a half, you know, you might not get everything the first time just because like everything is so jam-packed in what he's saying. And it's not necessarily that it's even thought out, but it's just really, you know, I feel the Holy Spirit coming through him, right? And his heart just opens up. And so this last weekend we had a really phenomenal talk on the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the pierced heart, and about like how can you really use that as a lens to view everything else in your spiritual life. And so I would highly recommend that people come out to that. If you are, you know, more interested in building the spirituality or the stamina, or really trying to build up an inner core of resilience.
So before we move too far on to that, what is everyone's favorite event? We'll start with you, Rachel.
I have always liked Tap Into Theology, but then my other favorite event are just any of the social events because I'm very outgoing and social. So, like, even when we just meet at this brewery at this time, like 30 people show up and you just get to hang out. So that's one that I really like, is just being able to talk and hang out with people, and any like kind of game nights or things like that. But yeah, Tap Into Theology, I always love the speakers and the talks and getting to talk to people about what we just heard afterwards. So that one's definitely my favorite, and probably our biggest event too.
I think I am grateful for our extroverts. I think when I started, we didn't have a lot of socials, so I was trying to put them on. It's very hard. A lot of people came, though, and it was great, but it was difficult for me, so grateful for Rachel. But I think my favorite, maybe I'm biased, would have to be Bible study, because we're so close now. But also Mondays with Mary. I think that was the first small group that I joined, and it really just helped just connect with some girls and then feel more confident in showing up to the events, because now I knew some people. Another one is one that we're going to bring back. We'll have more info coming up, but we're going to have some testimony sharing. And that is the first event that I showed up to in Firepit many years ago. So I'm excited to be bringing that back.
I think for me, I still love Tap Into Theology. I'm big into it. It, like Rachel was saying, it is our biggest event, and it's like continuously grown pretty much every single time we've done it since we started. Some of the newer members on the board, and very recently we had like 45 people show up at it. So we have like a pretty sizable contingent of the Boise 20 to 30 audience coming to these events, and it's just so awesome to see everybody in the same place, sort of rally around each other and really take the time to learn something and to also communicate and just hang out. We can just talk. We can just have a good time. It's fun.
I have to admit, I loved the Tap Into Theology events when we would go. I think they called them Theology on Tap at that time, but I like it. It's kind of a... Oh, is it really?
Yes. It's copyrighted.
That's very interesting. Who copyrighted it?
The Diocese of Chicago.
No, you should have just been like, I'm pulling some strings. I'm from Chicago. Were you baptized in that like diocese?
I think so. I'm not sure how.
You should. You should. Yeah. You should just be like, hey, Chicago. Like, I'm part of. Like, I was.
It is so Chicago though to copyright that.
Yeah.
It's very Chicago.
How do you feel as a Chicagoan about Pope Leo?
I was floating. I was so stoked. All my family members were freaking out in group chats. He released his favorite pizza place as Aurelio's, which is like, that's my favorite pizza place.
That's cool.
Yeah, and which is they've kind of taken it and run a decent amount. Like they've now back on Chicago trademarking. They now trademarked Pepperoni pizza.
Oh no.
But yeah. Shout out to Aurelio's, my favorite pizza place in Chicago. Highly recommend it. But yeah, I was losing my mind. It was awesome.
I'm not gonna lie. Fun fact: Pope Leo was he was chosen the day after Lucia was born. So we're in the hospital waiting to be discharged, and we find out like all the nurses are coming in to like give us paperwork and stuff, and I'm like, shh, shut up! I want to see who this is. I'm like, help! It's the Pope. I was like, we just had an American Pope, and the nurses are like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, you don't get it. Lucia's just chilling. She's like, Yeah, I knew it. I knew it the whole time. Anyways, it was very fun to find out about that. But yeah, I know that for us, like for me, when I was a young adult, I don't know if I can still call myself that, but we'll see that. I'm 30, okay? I'm not super old.
30s.
Yeah, I'm not that old yet. But I feel like it does change a little bit once you get married, though. Like, a lot of times Catholics talk about, like, seasons of life, and it's so true. Like, even, like, married versus having kids versus single versus, like, in a dating relationship, it all is really different on how your life changes. But anyways, going back to that would be... When I was going to Firepit, I was totally like, where's my future spouse? I know he's around here. So
I've got things to say about that.
So, in that, do you guys try to discourage or encourage, or like, what is your kind of take? Because is your ministry is really about fellowship, right? But, and part of finding a good spouse is being in fellowship with them, right? But at the same time, you don't want that to be the only reason that people are coming. So how do you guys kind of like navigate that?
See, and I think that's why like the social events are nice, because they could use that time to talk to each other and get to know each other more at the social events, and then still focus on like what's going on at Tap Into Theology, like focus on what is Tap Into Theology. But yeah, I mean, I think it's natural. Like if you put a bunch of young adult single Catholic people together in one space, like there's bound to be people who fall in love. That's how I met my fiance at a Firepit event. So I'm pro dating through Firepit. But it was like very normal. Like I had been going to Firepit already for like a year and a half, and then he just showed up to one event, and it was a trivia. We did like a Firepit trivia event, and he sat down and was at our table and was on our team. So that's how we met. But I could list probably 10 couples that met in Firepit and got married. And honestly, there's probably so many Firepit babies now because they're all married and they like have kids. And so it's beautiful. Like it's kind of like bound to happen, I think, naturally, but it's definitely not our goal, but it's a perk, I would say. But yes, there's a lot of single people, and that's actually how my fiance came. He was like, he's Catholic, he was coming back to the church, and he had gotten out of a bad relationship previously, and he was like, I just need to get back into my faith. He's like, I would love to like marry someone who's Catholic and like raise a Catholic family. So he was like, I need to meet a Catholic girl then. And so his boss told him like, oh, I've heard of this thing called Firepit. Like, I'm sure there's Catholic single girls there. You should go. So he came, and he says his goal was not to meet someone to date, but it kind of sounds like it was. And because literally the first event he went to, he met me and we started going out. So yeah, but now we're getting married in January. So I'm pro dating through Firepit, but it's not our ministry's main goal.
I love that. Yeah, the brothers, when they were starting during COVID again, Firepit was kind of like in a lull from what I understand. Because again, we didn't know what we were supposed to do, and there was a lot of stuff going on during COVID. But the brothers, they were hosting their metaphysics on Wednesday nights, and I think there's like 6 couples that came out of that, and they were like, we're trying to get brothers, and all we're doing is
they're like, just getting couples.
All these couples. So how many, I don't know how many of us use the brothers, but like I know that Aaron and I were married by the brothers. I know another couple that was married by the brothers.
They're marrying us too, because we met, and then I was going to metaphysics for like over a year by that point. So I invited him. I was like, hey, you should come to metaphysics. And we actually found out we were neighbors also, and we live right next to the monastery. Like we could walk there in 10 minutes. So I was like, he didn't even know it was there. So I was like, yeah, there's this monastery right here. We should go to metaphysics. So that's how we kind of started hanging out, was going to metaphysics every week. So yeah, same thing. And now, but also like I have other friends that also met through metaphysics. And so, yeah. Father Johannes is going to do our wedding.
I think it's so funny because as somebody who is like a pretty recent convert to Catholicism, if you ask where are all of the Catholic young adults, it is like a little funny to me that the answer is, oh, they're all at the monastery.
Yeah.
Like, like I would even say with a lot of like specific parish events, you don't see a ton of like the Catholic young adult community, but you go to a monastery event,
and they're all over.
And, yeah, there's so many of us there.
One of my old roommates,
we're all just attracted to the monastery.
One of my old roommates, when I first moved here, he went to mass at the monastery because it was just super close, and he already had a girlfriend and stuff, but he called it the monastery. He's like, there's so many single men there, you should go there. And I was like, oh, and I was like, I don't think that's the right reason to go to the monastery. And I didn't end up going to metaphysics until like a year later, but Yeah, he called it the monastery.
I think the reason that young people are attracted to the monastery, and I mean, the viewers of this podcast know the brothers because we've had Father Adam on, we've had like 4 brothers on at this point. So like they're starting to get to know them. But when you go there, and this is like, if you listen to the podcast I had with Brother Jonathan, like we talk about like you show up and there's this like peace. Like,
yes,
you know, there's so much like tension in the world, not even like tension of like, I don't know, it just feels like the world is so buzzing, like it buzzes like just everywhere. You can walk out on the street and you hear airplanes and cars and like it's just buzzing, and then you show up to the monastery and there's this this,
so quiet.
It's quiet, and there's like the brothers are peaceful, and
it's beautiful too.
And they're so joyful, and yeah, it's just no wonder in a period of time when we've all grown up with no silence, really, like silence is really hard, I think, for our generation and the generations below me, right? That I think that the monastery has to be attractive. Just has to.
Yeah. And honestly, at Metaphysics recently, there's been a lot of people coming that aren't even Catholic. They're just like curious what this is about. And like, so it's kind of interesting because in Metaphysics, you do leave like the faith aspect out of Metaphysics when you're talking about it. So I think they like that too. But then naturally it makes other questions arise. So, and the brothers are so good at talking to them about it too. And it's just cool because it's people from different faith backgrounds or people who don't believe in anything. Like, because I've invited many friends to it and they come and check it out and they're like, oh, that was really interesting. Like even our friends that aren't Catholic. So sometimes like inviting them to mass isn't always like their cup of tea, but like they come to Metaphysics and they're like, oh, I kind of liked that. It was really interesting because it's...
I know. Metaphysics is like... It's kind of like reading the Fathers, right? Like, you know what they say about reading the Fathers? It's like, once you hit the Fathers, you're gonna be Catholic.
Yeah.
Like Scott Hahn, all of that, right? Once you start reading the Fathers, like... just about time. And it's kind of like that with Metaphysics in a way. It's like one of those doors that doesn't seem so like, you know, like mass is very like off-putting to people, right? And they're like, well, I could never, right? I could never. But Metaphysics, it's like far enough away that like it leads you to the same end, but you're starting from a different door. It's like, you know, I think it's a cool way to invite people in to the faith for sure.
And it is no longer on Wednesday nights.
It's now on Tuesdays.
It's on Tuesday nights. So
they just
if you
restarted.
have not been able to go because it's on Wednesday nights. Now you have no excuse.
It just restarted the class last Tuesday. Oh. So tomorrow's the second class in the session. So Father Dom just started it over.
All right. And then, so I think for me, the last question I would really have is, or I have a few ending questions, but the first one would be, if someone's kind of curious about Firepit, or they're, you know, haven't gone to a Firepit event, maybe they're more of an introvert, maybe they are just new to Catholicism in general, like, what would your advice be? And I want to hear from all 3 of you guys. What would your guys' advice be to that person on why they should come to Firepit?
I think they should come because you never know what it's going to be like until you actually come. Like, you actually have to just do it. You can't just watch it online or, like, look at the posts on the internet. Like, you have to just come. But I understand that is scary. Even for, like... I used to be more of an introvert. I'm way more extroverted now, but I was still nervous even just because walking into a room of people you don't know what it's going to be like. It can be kind of anxiety inducing. You're like, are all these people going to be weird? Like, are they going to be normal? Like, am I going to sit down by myself? Like, but really, like, when you come to our events, like, you sit down at a table, a bunch of people sit down with you. So don't be afraid. And if you are nervous, you can always reach out. Just send a message to the board. Like, I've invited people before and been like, hey, I'll sit with you. Like, I've told them, like, I'll sit with you at your table or whatever. And then when they get there, I, like, greet them and stuff. So, like, if you want a buddy, reach out. I'll come sit with you and hang out with you. And I know that all of us would do that. So
I was also going to say, yeah, if you just are, if it's your first time coming to a Firepit event, let's say you're at Tap Into Theology, usually we'll all have, like, a more formal nameplate on. If you just come up and say, hey, it's our first time here, we'll sit down with you, we'll talk to you, or we'll sit you down at a table with some other people, be like, hey, this is this person, let's talk, and then get a conversation going. So even if you are more introverted, which there are still plenty of introverts in Firepit.
Oh, yeah.
We have a bunch of extroverted people, but there are still plenty of introverts in Firepit. So there's all sorts of people. You're bound to meet somebody that you're going to have a connection with, and we'll at least have one thing in common. So
Say for me, it was definitely baby steps to be able to come and be involved and talk to people. I'll tell you, for Tap Into Theology, I used to show up right before the talk started because I knew what time the mingle ended, and I would leave as soon as the talk ended. And then it took a while for me to like show up a little earlier, stay a little later. But it's not as scary. I'm very grateful that I started coming full time, and I guess for me, I keep that in mind in any sort of like small groups that I try to start or facilitate, or any events that I put on. I try to keep the me's in mind, the introverts, the lukewarm, those that maybe feel discouraged hearing how Catholic everyone is in Firepit, and those who maybe aren't consistent or like struggle to come. So a lot of my things are small groups, no homework, just come whenever you can, and we have all levels of Catholics.
I do have one more thing to say. I would try multiple events too. Like if you come to one and you're like, I don't know about that. Like there's different kinds of events. Like Tap Into Theology is pretty much good for everyone, but like if you are more introverted, like maybe a small group is better for you. Or if you want to go to the socials and that doesn't freak you out, then come to the socials. If that's really intimidating, then just go to the other things. Maybe you just want to go to First Friday Formation. Like you can go to whatever, but I would say try to go to at least 2 events. Like don't just go to one and be like, I don't know about that, and then never come back. Like I would try and go to at least more than one, because there's different kinds of events for different reasons. Because there's some people who like we'll have sporting events sometimes. Like we had a pickleball event a few months ago and a bunch of people came, but some people that came, I was like, wow, I haven't seen you since we did that volleyball tournament like a year and a half ago. And like that person like comes to the sports things because they like the sports things, and that's fine. But yeah, come to what you think you would like, but also try to come to more than just one event and see what you like.
Yeah, so my next question would be then, it's kind of along the same lines, but say, like I'm just thinking about myself, and when I was in college, one of the things I used to think is like, oh, that's too Catholic for me. Like I don't want to get involved because that's too Catholic. Like they're too intense. You know what I mean? So for people that might feel like that, what do you guys say your advice would be?
So I have no idea what it's like to be too Catholic. Personally, like just because I'm a pretty adult recent convert, like I don't have any of the cultural understanding of Catholicism. I don't know half the saints. I don't know. Like I finished going through the Bible for the first time this year, just front to back. I don't think that you have to be somebody who's like, injected in my veins, this is all I'm doing for the rest of my life to show up to our events. I think we have all sorts of people who are approaching the faith at all sorts of different angles. We have plenty of people going through OCIA who they're still figuring everything out as well. I'm still figuring everything out, even after OCIA. But like, everybody's just nice. I think that's something that I try to like remind myself, because I definitely did have like sort of a Catholicism imposter syndrome, because I was like, oh yeah, everybody there's going to be so Catholic, and I'm not going to know anything they're talking about. And it's like, yeah, you might not, but then you show up to a couple events and you start to learn things. And it's not the only thing we talk about. People go in, if you really don't want to have every single event in Firepit be like tinged with Catholicism, people go and start their own like kind of either small groups or side activities all the time. Like I think we have a pickleball group chat that one of our members has started up pretty recently, and it's like, yeah, everybody there is mostly Catholic. I think we've actually got some few non-Catholic.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just gonna say too. Is like, for people that have been coming for a while, we encourage them to invite their friends or invite anyone. So it's not meant to be just for Catholics. Like it's part of like bringing people into a community. Like, I mean, ultimately it would be great to evangelize for the church and for Christ and bring people into the faith. But also like there's people who just have questions about Catholicism. They're like, oh, I just didn't know that. Or they just want friends. Like they're more than welcome to come to any of our events. Like, I know that myself and my friend Jess and I always encourage people to come. Like we have friends who are curious about Catholicism, but they're not sure. So we're like, just come to this event and check it out. And again, it might be a little less intimidating than like going to mass or something like that. So non-Catholics are definitely more than welcome to come. So if that scares you, just know that you're welcome to come, and that our events are Catholic, but they're not like really high, like intellectual, like I can't understand any of what's going on because it's so Catholic type of things. Like they're pretty chill and relaxed, and you should learn something new, but it shouldn't be like too overwhelming where you're like, oh my gosh. We did a trivia, and I ran the trivia, and that was fun. And I made sure that there was a mix of like easy questions, but then definitely some harder questions. And I learned a lot myself. I've been Catholic my whole life, and I was like, oh, I didn't know the answers to this. But that's where it's also like, you can just learn new things and be okay. Like, oh, I don't know the answers. I don't think any team knew that. Well, one team knew all the answers to pretty much all the questions because they were just, they're just insanely smart at all of those things. So, but the majority of teams, they're like, what? Like, but we're all pretty much like on the same page of like what we know, what we don't know, but everyone's on their own faith journey. So like, there's no judgment on that. And you know, different amounts at different times, and everyone knows different things. So we kind of gain knowledge from each other too.
I did want to mention, yes, we talked about our main Firepit events and the ones that we host and we facilitate. There's also a lot of other groups and things that just our members have started. So our group chat, join it. You can mute it if you want, if you don't like too much chatter. It really isn't too much chatter. But join it and feel free to create your own event or just throw something out there like, hey, I'm going to watch this movie. Who wants to come? And people will come. Yeah. I know before I even joined the board, I just hosted a women's brunch and 12 ladies came and they were all brand new to me. So there's a lot of other programs and events that people have hosted, like, hey, let's go to the lake, things like that. So it doesn't have to be super Catholic. There's some events or groups I wanted to mention, like the Eucharistic adoration, the candlelit adoration with music. That wasn't started by us. That was started by someone in our group chat. But going to that, even if you're just interested in going for prayer and adoration, then you start getting familiar with the faces, and maybe that'll spark conversation. There's also, yes, the pickleball group. That is every Saturday. Mostly pickleball. Sometimes they do basketball or volleyball. But that's every Saturday, and that is just playing sports with people. There's also, I wanted to mention Yodel, Young Adult Teams of Our Lady. We have Emily who started that. So let us know if you'd like more information, but that's also a small group. Is there any others? There's also a group for people like skiing and snowboarding. There's a lot more.
I love that I'm hearing, like, it's kind of like, I've always said this, and I'm sure everyone's really annoyed because I keep saying it, but like the Catholic Church has so many facets that you can be anywhere. You can throw a dart on the dartboard and you're going to land somewhere where, like, that's whatever your niche is, like, that's what you can find in the Catholic Church. So it seems like a lot of that, like, people are taking their own personalities in this group, and then they're also like seeing, hey, maybe I'll throw this out there and someone else will want to do it, and then you're building community like that. So the other thing I would say, or the other question I would have, and we kind of touched on this, that it is open to people that are not Catholic, but have you guys ever considered doing any like ecumenical kind of events?
Yes, we actually have one coming up. So it'll be Fellowship in the Park. It'll be at Kleiner Park, I believe August 12th.
I think so.
We'll get flyers out shortly. So I call infiltrating other young adult groups in the area. So I have been inviting the other Catholic young adult groups that we know of. So there's another one in Boise. There's another one in Caldwell. There's 2 in Nampa. So they have been invited. So far, Cairo, which is a group from Nampa for St. Paul's in Nampa, they are going to co-host with us. We basically just reserved a pavilion. We'll reserve some pickleball courts, but we're right in the center of the park, so we're right next to the playground, so people with kids can come. We also have like the splash pad right next to us. The volleyball court is close by. We'll have burgers and hot dogs, and it'll be potluck. So everyone is welcome. It's really just trying to get the word out about all of our ministries and just let other young adults know that there is like a larger presence of us and that you're not alone. So hopefully that will be an easy event for people to come to.
All right. One other question is on events. Do you guys think you'll ever do like an alumni event? Like for people that are out of the Firepit age group?
That's a great idea. We've never thought about that. Yeah, that'd be cool. We literally have never thought about that. So what do you think the alumni would be interested in doing? Just getting together?
I don't know. I think that I think it would be kind of fun. This sounds super weird. I'm not that old, guys. I promise. But sometimes it's fun and hard, I think, when you start to have kids.
Yeah.
Hard to go out and do fun things like play volleyball or go and do some group event, unless it's with someone you really like. I don't know. It has to be a lot of planning. There's like lots of logistics when you have kids. So it'd be fun. Like you were talking about this event, and I was like, oh, that's a perfect place for like the kids can play. You can have like people like kind of like wrangling the kids, and then the parents can play pickleball or something. I don't know, like something like that where they just get together for like maybe a summer event. But I know there's so many. I think that what happens is once you join a fire pit or once you have like made groups of friends, sometimes you like 2 or 3 of you guys will like kind of link up after you've gotten married and had kids. But sometimes you were like really close friends and then everything kind of like spreads out because you guys are in different seasons at different times.
Yeah.
And so like you don't really get that like community. Like that was a really special moment in my life, like a really influential part of my life, right? And I don't have any connection to it. So that's why I was asking, because I think people might enjoy being like, if you've ever been a part of Fire Pit at any point in time, like we're having a like, you know, a reunion.
Yeah.
I will say we do allow kids at our events. Like there are plenty of people who have children who show up. Obviously, I understand it's more difficult to schedule things and to make the time if you have kids, but I think we've always been cool with people bringing their kids and their spouses. And
yeah, I was going to say, we do have, like, they're married couples and people with kids are more than welcome to come. But like you said, it is definitely like a lifestyle change. Like, even if you're the same age, you might feel like you're in a different spot in your life. Like, but they're still more than welcome to come. So I think doing something like that, where it's more like explicit, like, no, we want you to come and we want you to be here, would be a really good idea. But yeah, so if you ever want to come, but you want to bring your kids, like, you're more than welcome to come. Also, because I mean, all of us love kids, so it's kind of fun because the kids can run around with all of us and stuff. But
hence Rachel holding Lucy. Like,
yeah,
I was like, probably should put a note in that's like not Rachel's kid.
Yeah. Please bring your babies so I can hold them. No, just kidding. But yeah, no, I think something more explicit. But there was talk too about possibly forming like married couples, like Bible study or something, because as more of us are getting married, we don't want it to be like, oh, you get married and you're gone, like you leave the ministry, like, because you're still like in the age range, and like it's not like you get married and you get ripped out of your community. We don't want that to be the case. Obviously you have to step away for just a little bit to like, you know, have a new family and like focus on that. But I think that having some opportunities for married couples is definitely in the future also, as like a lot of people who at least I'm friends with in Fire Pit have gotten married, like 6 of them this year. So I think that's definitely something that should be in the works. But yeah, that'd be cool to make like an alumni event and advertise it kind of that way.
I mean, we are at the end of the day 20s and 30s, but we've never said no to somebody showing up. Like I think at one of our more recent Tap Into Theology, someone showed up and she was like in her 60s. It was awesome to see her there. She brought up a lot of cool points. It was great talking to her. Like, we're never going to say that somebody can't show up to one of our events. Like, you're out of the age range by 1 year, so.
But if you are under 21, we will not let you drink. So if you're under 21 and you show up, you cannot drink. That's the only hard rule.
When you said that, I was kind of thinking, so another topic that has come up recently is the idea of like having like a multi-generational home. Mm-hmm. I'm putting quotes because you don't necessarily have to like live with someone to like really appreciate like an older generation. So it'd be kind of cool. I mean, I guess the church is already kind of doing that with their events, but sometimes I don't think that either, like if it's more targeted to younger people, and I'm going to say at the church events, because this is really what we're talking about, is like, this is targeted for young people because it is hard. It is hard to make friends in this day and age, and it's hard to kind of find your group, especially if you're like a new to the area or new to the church and you're younger. It can just be harder to find your group. So like, I'm not saying that, but yeah, I think it would be cool to see in our parishes, and I think probably St. John's has a fair amount of mixed, older and younger. Mm-hmm. But it would be really cool at like church events in general, like whenever you show up to your just normal parish, maybe that's in like Fruitland or whatever, that there's like a bigger mix of the ages and ideas.
And I've always said, like, young adults need young couples and old couples to, like, look up to kind of too, and be like a model of a good family and a good Catholic family. And also lots of us moved here and our families aren't here. So, like, also having just older people in our lives who are like mentors almost, but also can, like, help us, I think is great, because no matter where you are in the country or in your faith, like, it's good to go to Mass and, like, be friends with people of all different kinds. Actually, 2 years ago, we had like a women's brunch. This was not a Firepit event, but there was like a women's brunch put on by this woman named Mona, and she just wanted to bring a bunch of women together, old, young, and it was all of like the older women took a group of younger women and were like mentoring them, like giving them advice and listening to them. And they're like, I know how to sew. I'll teach you how to sew. And then they were giving cooking lessons, sewing lessons, like like, and all these women who were like a wealth of knowledge. And then this one older woman, she's probably in her like 60s or 70s, gave me her phone number, and she's like, if you ever need anything, like, call me. And I had just moved here, and I was like, wow, this is so nice. But it's good for like young people to have like older people in their lives too, and not just be with young people all the time.
I feel like that's really important. I was talking to Joe Lepetsky, this was like months ago, and one of the things we talked about, and I guess this kind of ties over, I had a conversation with Jason Everett as well, but one of the things is like, yeah, women, like, we need that for sure, but like also young men need that, because how many people live in a city and never get to like chop wood? Like, I don't know, like who gets to like fix their car, like, you know, that kind of stuff. So like that community is really important as well. So I could see that as a beautiful event. Like that probably was awesome.
It was awesome. It would be great. We just need the men to organize it, and then I was like, we need the men to organize that.
Help with that. So if you want to spearhead that, we can.
I know that my fiance and his friends would totally attend that event. They'd be like, oh, we're gonna hang out with some guys and work on cars and chop wood and do man things and hang out. Then they would sign up for that in a heartbeat. So maybe, I know the brothers also did like the men's retreats, and so that's been big with a lot of the men in the group, and they're doing a young adult weekend coming up too that's co-ed. So those have been good for people also. But I think having older mentors would be good too.
Okay, so just to wrap up at this point, I was going to ask, where can people find you? If someone is like, okay, I'm ready to take the plunge. I have never been. I want to go. What is your upcoming events? Where can they find you? What kind of, like, how can they get in touch with you? All of that jazz.
I think we're most active on GroupMe. So if you like to join the chat, you can join us on GroupMe. I can share the links. The links are everywhere. I try to put them everywhere. You can go to our website and you can kind of see a calendar of events. We don't post too many details in there. Most details are going to be in GroupMe. You can also go to our Instagram, and in our Instagram, what do you call it? The
drop down links.
Yeah, we have our link tree listed in there, and then the links to the main group chat, and then the women's and the men's chat, and just other big events are going to be listed there. Where else? Website, Instagram, group chat. You can also email us at firepitministry@gmail.com.
Yeah, or DM the Instagram account. That works too.
Yes, I respond on all platforms. So any way that you want to reach us, I will answer.
In terms of upcoming events, it's Monday today. We have one on Saturday. We're doing a nice little river float down the Boise River. So everybody's free to come to that. It should be a really fun time. I think we have like 15 to 20 people RSVP'd right now. So hopefully we can get some more in, but I think it's going to be fun. And then
is it next Monday?
The 21st.
Yeah, I'm not great with dates off the top of my head, but the Monday, like a week from today. Yeah. The 21st, we'll have David giving his talk at Tap Into Theology. And it's going to be at
Holy Apostles.
Show up at 6:30. Stay a little bit early. We got pizza. We got drinks. Talk to some people. The event will start at 7. And listen to David give a wonderful talk.
one other question I have for you guys is, say someone is older and wants to kind of help this ministry and has value. Is there anywhere that they can donate?
So on our website, we actually have a link on where you can donate to us. Also, just where you donate to any parish, we're one of the ministries listed on the diocese website. And we are funded by the 6 parishes in Ada County that support us. So that's where that money comes from.
So thank you to all of those parishes as well. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you guys on today. And I'm so excited that we were able to have like a little half circle, round table without a table today to talk about Firepit. And also talking about social media. We try to share as much as we can on our podcast Instagram to kind of let people know what the upcoming events are as well.
We really appreciate that. Thank you.
We appreciate you guys. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was nice to talk to you too.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Desert Wanderers. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up as well as subscribe down below. We're produced by Salt and Light Radio, so you can find us on social platforms at Salt and Light Radio or Desert Wanderers Podcast. We produce episodes every week and we launch them for you on Wednesdays. So make sure to tune in for next week's episode and we'll see you then.